Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to another video with a pair of subscriber replays. Today's video is going to have a rather Chinese feel to it. So we are kicking off proceedings with Kfuffle, a guy who you may not have seen in a little while, but might remember as a chap who really likes his Chinese tanks, and my crosshair is a little bit bugged, not quite sure why. Oh well, never mind. Now he is driving for us today the 112. This is the tier 8, or sorry, this is one of the tier 8 Chinese premium heavy tanks, the other one of course being the WZ 111. Not to be confused with the WZ 111 1/4 or 1-4, which is the tier 9 Chinese heavy tank. And Fuffle is one of those unusual individuals who actually likes the 112. I own a 112, I've put up my own gameplay of the machine, and in the not too distant future I will have a review of the tank for you guys to have a look at. But that doesn't mean I actually like it. Fuffle on the other hand does genuinely like the 112, so all power to him. Put one shot into an AMX 1375. I should mention, of course, that Fuffle here is on an assault game, on the Siegfried line. He's on the attacking team. Hello, Mr. AMX. Goodbye, Mr. AMX. But this is actually, strictly speaking, a tier 9 match. So this is not the 112 in its ideal matchmaking. We've got a Centurion 7/1 and a T-54 on each side, which, of course, are the tier 9s. But more than that, it means things like there aren't any regular tier 6s to shoot at. So it's not just the fact that there are some tier 9s in the match that matters. Side shot onto that IS-6, and part of me is kind of surprised that penetrated. The IS-6 has spaced armor along the side of the tank and is notorious for bouncing some ridiculous shots. Well, a little bit lucky. Combine that with the incredibly derpy gun on the 112 and, well, you know, you need a little bit of luck to have a good game in pretty much any tank, but especially true of the 112. So speaking of the gun, what sort of gun is it? Well, this is your standard Soviet 100, or Soviet/Chinese 122mm gun. But this is, I think, the worst version of that gun found on any tank. It's pretty terrible, and that was lucky, lucky, lucky. Usually, if you don't fully aim with this gun, you miss. You can't really snapshot with it. Nonetheless, so far Fuffle has managed to put in some nice shots on a variety of different tanks, and this KV-4 is just showing his bum, and there's a bit more damage into it. And the guy's also tracked, but because he's behind a load of pillars and whatnot, he can't return fire onto Fuffle. So Fuffle should just be able to put in another round. I must admit, on the one hand, Fuffle was getting lucky with some of his shots on the move hitting and things like that. On the other hand, he's getting some quite low damage rolls against this KV-4, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. But when all is said and done, that's a dead tier 8 Soviet heavy tank. No one's really shot at Fuffle yet, which is nice, but we can't necessarily expect that to last indefinitely. IS-3 around the corner, which is a very challenging opponent for the 112. Back in the day, you used to be able to shoot the turret roof, and you still can, but ever since they gave the tank a HD model, they made the turret roof a more difficult target, and the front armor is such that you're basically, if you want to reliably penetrate an IS-3, and trust me, they can reliably penetrate you, then you kind of want to be firing heat ammo, which is a little bit sad, but there we go. M41 Walker Bulldog comes over the cliff, takes a shot in the side, gets rammed and is busy shooting up someone else. Is Fuffle going to be able to pick up the kill though? Yes, he is. That's actually kill number 4, if you would believe it. Not using any of those dirty heat rounds. Well, not yet anyway. We'll see if he does. Scoreline is 6-6, so the game is pretty even. But remember, of course, Fuffle is on the attacking team on an assault match. And so the emphasis is really, or the pressure is really on the friendly team to go over there and do the killing. And they've only got 10 minutes in total, down to 5.5 minutes now to do it. Yeah, thankfully Fuffle only loses his tracks to that shot rather than the shot going through his lower front plate and setting off the fuel tanks, which would be quite sad. And Fuffle doesn't penetrate his shot, but, you know, swings and roundabouts. We're not going to complain too much about that. IS-3 is a 2-shot. Super Pershing appears to be willing to come around the corner. There he is. Not giving Fuffle the easiest shot in the world, but Fuffle does manage to make a shot into that sort of commander's hatch on top of the turret work. And there we go. Super Pershing is covered in enough spaced armor on the front that switching to his premium ammo there would have been a really bad mistake. IS-3 isn't looking and becomes victim number 5. Again, actually a kind of lucky shot, because Fuffle did not let that one aim at all. That leaves this Super Pershing now, who seems to know what he's doing as he puts a shot into Fuffle's lower plate. And Fuffle puts a shot into his commander's hatch, the wonders of a bit of weak spot knowledge. Was that into the lower plate? I think it was. Yeah, there you can see. And there's a shot there from the Ferdinand, which sets Fuffle on fire. And this is one of the problems... Ooh, that was lucky. This is one of the problems with the 112. That was actually a shot into his side. The 112 has quite big fuel tanks. They set on fire very easily, and part of them is below the lower front plate. And apparently there's also a bit in the side, as that's where his shot came from the Ferdinand. And so fires happen in this tank with depressing regularity. And this T-34-2 seems determined that Fuffle should have to poke out and get shot again for his troubles. Really annoying when someone pokes behind you like that. Anyway. Fuffle shall continue onwards. Gonna come around here. There is another IS-3 to deal with. This guy's on about half health. There's Fuffle here. There's also the other Chinese heavy tank, the WZ-111. Hopefully the two of them will be able to do something about this IS-3. WZ puts a shot in, leaves the guy on pretty low health. Fuffle here is actually waiting for the T-54 Mod 1, who is just around the corner. Now, this is kind of one of those situations where I totally understand why Fuffle was waiting for that guy, and I don't necessarily think it was the wrong decision, but it did cost his WZ-111 friend his life. Fuffle then takes a shot in the rear from someone. I'm guessing that FCM is out on the field somewhere. Shot from Fuffle into the IS-3's side. Doesn't go through the IS-3's magic side armor. And Fuffle unfortunately gets taken out by the IS-3. C'est la vie. FCM and IS-3 remaining on the enemy team. Now on the one hand you could say it should be easy, the friendly team have this, but on the other hand you have to remember that they have to physically assault the enemy base. So, considering what's left on the friendly team, we've got a Type 64, a Crusader self-propelled, KV-3 and a T-34-2, and they're generally pretty badly beaten up. If this FCM has a reasonable amount of health remaining, he could actually be a serious problem. Let's go and see what the KV-3 does. No. I'm just, my game is just bugging out a little bit, apologies. So let's just speed this along a little bit. And you can see the enemy Bulldog is saying, is the 112 worth buying? And Fuffle says, yes, he really likes it, and there we go, that's the game they managed to cap. My opinion would not be the same, but we'll get onto that in the actual review. Let's go and take a look at the post-battle results for this one. So, that was an ace tanker for Fuffle there, along with Bruiser, Fire for Effect, High Caliber, and Top Gun medals. Quite a nice performance. 5,025 damage done. Unfortunately, Fuffle wasn't quite able to get that 8th kill for the Radley Walters medal, but 7 kills is still a very nice performance. 1,572 base experience, and not a premium round in sight, which means that was going to be quite a profitable game. 19 shots fired, 17 hits, 16 penetrations for that damage count, most of which was from relatively close range. Received 7 hits, 5 penetrated, 2 did not, for 320 damage blocked by his armour. This wasn't really the game of the armour, if we're going to be honest. 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 9 damage, 7 destroyed, bit of assistance damage into the bargain. And now let's have a look at that profitability. On the one hand, no premium rounds were fired that game. On the other hand, these 122mm shells are just over 1,000 credits a pop, and Fuffle fired 19 of them, so ammunition resupply is over 19,000 credits. Full repair costs for the vehicle of over 7,000 credits, plus some consumables used, means that Fuffle is looking at a gross income of 93,000 credits, net profit of 64,500. Remembering that's all with a standard account. With a premium account, those numbers jump up to about 139,500 and 111,000 respectively. So the 112 is certainly capable of making some money. 1,572 experience times 2 for the day for that 3,301 XP plus 156 free experience, and obviously that would have been more with a premium account. So all things considered, all in all, a really nice game there from Fuffle. Got a little bit lucky with the gun, but you know, you can't really complain too much. Generally speaking, if you're going to have a good game, you need to have a little bit of luck somewhere. So a very nice result there from the 112. Let's move on to game number 2. Well, I mentioned that this video was going to be a rather Chinese affair. We're actually going to go with the consecutively numbered tanks here. We had Fuffle in the 112 in the previous game. This game we have Sumgrass driving the 113. This is the tier 10 Chinese heavy tank. This thing is an interesting machine. It's not to everybody's tastes, but it's clearly to Sumgrass's tastes, because look at those 3 marks of excellence. Getting 3 marks of excellence on a tier 10 tank is not easy, so that's a very nice feat. And should probably mention, in case you're not already aware, Sumgrass is a ridiculously good player. Former Dinger here, he is now in the Ideal clan, and in this game he is platooned up with Mr. Fabulous in his Object 140. Mr. Fabulous, by the way, that is an absolutely fabulous name. That's fantastic, I love it. So, the 113. I have not played this tank. I have unlocked but not yet purchased the tier 9, the WZ1111-4. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, let's be honest. But as far as I can work out, this tank kind of behaves a little bit like a heavy tank, medium tank hybrid. Now, in common with the 112, it gets a horribly weak lower front plate. And in common, I would imagine, with most Chinese tanks, ooh, nice damage roll, the critical modules on this thing are pretty horrible. It's also a very long tank. On the flip side, you get an interesting 122mm gun, 440 alpha damage, something like 260 odd penetration, I think. Oh no, 250 odd penetration, my mistake. When you consider what the alpha damage is, actually a very respectable rate of fire. If memory serves, this tank gets the same rate of fire as the T110E5 over there, but with 40, i.e. 10% extra alpha damage, which therefore equates to 10% extra DPM. The accuracy on the tank isn't necessarily fantastic, but it looks like a really nice machine to use. Anyway, enough about me waffling on about a tank that I don't actually own, so I don't actually know that much about. What we're seeing here is Sumgrass abusing the fact that there's no artillery in this game. No artillery means Sumgrass can use this position fairly effectively. The problem with artillery is that this is a very exposed location to use, and they tend to absolutely destroy you. This is, of course, a tier 10 game. Sumgrass is in a tier 10 tank. It was never going to be anything else. And we are here on the cliff map, for those who weren't aware. So far, Sumgrass has done some good work, putting damage into a variety of different tanks. And E75 and a Centurion Mark I have died on the enemy team, both claimed by this Ideal platoon. One for Sumgrass, one for Mr. Fabulous. Comes over here and finds an M48 Patton. M48 Patton is the American tier 10 medium tank. And Sumgrass here is basically abusing the fact that the Patton's armor isn't fantastic, and Mr. Fabulous picks up the kill. Now, so far, Sumgrass, despite being shot at a reasonable amount, hasn't actually taken a single point of damage. By constantly staying on the move and wiggling, etc., he has not given his opponents clear shots into him at any point. And so he has bounce shots, his tracks have been damaged. Oh, first bit of damage there from the enemy WZ120, who's using a very, very similar gun to Sumgrass here. In fact, I say a very similar gun. No, it's not technically the same gun, I don't think. It's another 122mm gun. Another shot into the side there. The side armor on this tank isn't the best, to the best of my knowledge, but all the same, Sumgrass has decided that he doesn't need to deal with that WZ120 right now. He needs to come over here, help out his teammates on this corner, as we've got a couple of tier 8s who seem to be losing quite a bit of health. T44 is going to have a good day, as Sumgrass puts a very big shell in. I mean, when you're doing 440 alpha damage per shot, that's a lot, but when you consider this is on a tank that can happily keep up with most medium tanks, that ends up being rather brutal. And of course, having that sort of dome-shaped turret, the turret armor is very strong as well. And that 440 Alpha with the good reload, say, really makes the damage rack up. Scoreline is 8-6. Sumgrass has actually done quite a lot of damage despite only having 1 kill. 1 kill is not bad. Mr. Fabulous has picked up 3 kills, so between them, the platoon, they have half of the friendly team's kills. T-34 away in the distance, puts a shell in, isn't going to stop moving, and there we go, the T-34 doesn't manage to penetrate Sumgrass's lower front plate, and takes a whole world of pain for his troubles. One more shot should finish this guy off, and with the T-34's long reload, Sumgrass had the reload on him and was able to pick up his second kill. T-57 Heavy just around the corner. This is a very dangerous tank. Mr. Fabulous puts in 1 shot. Sumgrass picks up kill number 3. Very dangerous because it packs a 120mm auto-loader, 400 alpha damage for a total of 1600 clip damage, and there's another platoon double tap. Damaging shot taken there. I'm surprised that actually penetrated wherever it went from the M46 KR. Now what's interesting about the 113 compared with the 112 is I assume they were a development of a similar project because they both have very similar characteristics in, for example, their upper front plate is the same thickness. I mean, when you compare the two tanks, the main difference, as far as I can work out anyway, seems to be in firepower and in mobility. The armor profile, well, the turret's a little bit different, but the general armor profile doesn't seem massively dissimilar. Anyway, there's only this T-30 remaining now on the enemy team. He's not even looking at Sumgrass, so there we go. Let's farm some more damage on this fellow. Can Sumgrass put in some more damage and or pick up the kill? 446 health left. There we go. Kill number 5 and the platoon's 9th kill. All the enemies are dead. Let's go and have a look at the results. So that ended up being an ace tanker for Sumgrass, as well as bruiser, spotter, duelist, fighter, fire for effect, shell proof, steel wall, high caliber, and a brothers in arms, as each of the platoon mates picked up at least 3 kills, and they both survived. Order it in terms of XP, let's just close that, and Sumgrass and Mr. Fabulous are at the top of the friendly team, and they'd be at the top in terms of damage as well. Commiserations to the enemy T-57 heavy tank, 4,245 damage is a fairly decent showing, but not enough for that win. And also the Korean Patton, only around about 2,000 damage, but remember he's a tier 8 in a tier 10 game. Anyway, Sumgrass in the end obviously had some blind damage as he managed 8,087 damage done, 5 kills, 1,276 base experience. Mr. Fabulous managed 4,090 damage, 4 kills, 966 XP. So a very nice result there. 24 shots fired, 21 hits, 19 penetrations. For that damage count, received 14 hits, of which only 4 penetrated. Nice use of the 113's armor profile there. 2,760 damage therefore blocked by his armor. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 11 damaged, 5 destroyed, and around about 1,500 assistance damage thrown into the bargain. With a premium account, that's 114,760 credits gross, but remember, the repair costs on tier 10 are quite substantial, the ammunition costs are fairly substantial, consumable costs, and once you take all that away, Sumgrass made approximately a 58,500 credit profit. With a standard account, that still would have been a 20,500 credit profit. So you can make money on tier 10 games, but this was a very, very good tier 10 game. And of course, that 1,276 base experience with a premium account becomes 1,914 with 95 free XP. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed that pair of showings in some Chinese heavy tanks. If you wish, you are of course always welcome to send in your own replays to me. If you want to do that, upload them to whatreplays.com and send the URL to me in a PM on YouTube, and I shall take a look. I tend to prioritise people or players who we've not seen before, or tanks that we haven't seen before. In this video, for instance, whilst we've seen both Fuffle and Sumgrass before, it's been a while since I showed a game with the 112, and the 113 was a new addition. Not shown any gameplay in that before. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.